All right, so we're working on our refined sketch, and we're not trying to be too fussy with it. We're just getting a sense of where the proportions are and what's going to be what in what area, right? So little things like, do I want the kind of arrow cuff part of this pointed, or do I want it squared? I don't necessarily need to have that all figured out yet. But what I do want to figure out are kind of the placements of things. So for instance, the little bottle, maybe I want to move that over a little bit. And I kind of squint and see. Maybe I want to transform it and tilt it. That's just why I like to do this as a raster format first. And squint. Maybe I want it to be just a little bit bigger in the frame. Maybe I push it so far so that the negative space actually hits. So all of those are options I have if I'm digitally sketching it. But I'm going to keep it pretty simple. So maybe I like that. And then I can always see, toggle it between when I did that and I didn't do it. So there to there. And you can ask the person next to you, for their input. But what you want for your refined sketch, once you get it into your computer, if you just ink it by hand, you want to make sure that it scales so that it reads small and large, right? You don't want to lose a lot of quality to it. Now, my question is, I think the hand reads okay, or will read okay, even though it's really simplified. I don't know that the bottle is reading yet. What do you guys think? Because what I could do is I could composite the bottle. So just like I was looking for flower shapes, I can look for a bottle shape. Like finding that iconic bottle shape. Like maybe I want something like this. And this is from a stock site. But I'm smart enough with compositing. I know how to do a screen grab of this. Bring that screen grab into Photoshop. And change its proportions and size. Tilt it a little bit more. Maybe bring it in a little bit. Right. And then what can I do? I can go to rasterize it, so I can delete from it, just like we've learned. It's the reason we learn about pixels first. Then go to levels, direct adjustments, really brighten it up. Right. Then use my magic wand with contiguous, get all this outside out. Yeah, I think that bottle might be a little bit clearer, right? So I can add a new layer and fill that shape behind it with black. I can just say edit fill black. So we're interested in it working as a black shape first. And then maybe an opportunity for some additional interest, right? Or here, I'll do it with a vector shape. I'm going to use the vector shape rectangle. Going to fill it. Oh, it already did fill. It's just underneath. There we go. Going to rotate it. Oops. I'm going to move it. And I think, yeah, there's something to that that's kind of interesting, that breaks it up, but it maybe takes away from the read. But what if I split the difference So now I make a duplicate of that vector shape. I fill it with white. And then I make it smaller. And I can stretch it, but that's going to give me, actually that's going to be kind of nice and funky. That's not too bad. So I'm going to make it a little uneven on the sides. It'll be interesting. So it's just really, really clear. If I do distort, I can kind of pull it at the corners. And basically control my proportions so it will scale well. Right? So I don't lose that shape. All right, so I think this is my refined sketch. So what do? I'm going to save it as that. So File, Save a Copy, because it was my proving ground. I'm now going to make it my Karl assignment for refined sketch. That's your first requirement. So try to get that up definitely before next class. And this is recycling. I'm going to put it, I'll just put it to assignment 4. I'm already saving it there. But I always say for you guys, because you share computers, save it to the desktop and then navigate it from there. So now my refined sketch is here. It's just a PNG. You could save it as a JPEG as well. I'm going to crop around it just within preview. So it's not too big. And now I'm going to post that into the assignment. Wherever that is. On my computer. Here it is. Okay, so this is now assignment 4. Your refined sketch does not go on your proving ground page. You're done with your proving ground once you've commented on someone else's and you posted your thumbnail sketches. Your refined sketch goes on assignment 4. Right here. So I'm going to take it, drop it in, and that is our first requirement. Now, it is best if your refined sketch is filled with black shapes, just so there's no confusion. Now, the reason my demo assignment from a past student doesn't have the shapes filled in is because I didn't want it to be really confusing between the difference between these two, right? But because I've kind of figured this out, the only difference between my first requirement, my refined sketch, and my second requirement, which is my black vector shape, is my black vector shape will be cleaner. But that can be hard to tell. So, here they are. So this is what a refined sketch might look like. It's pixel-based, right? The next step is to bring it into a vector program. And so I'm going to introduce you to our vector program, which is Adobe Illustrator. And I'm going to do it just for the remainder of this video. And just make sure you have your refined sketch by next time, right? There's also a freeware vector developing program called vector.com that you can play with. And it's very helpful, especially for practice. So helpful, in fact, I think I will link it here. And I don't believe the school blocks this one. It's vectr.com. It's also linked in the assignment. But you want to go to the SVG editor. Like a lot of these freewares, they make a lot of their money now on AI. So please don't use the AI logo. We're trying to learn skills here, not just shortcut to an end that we don't understand. So even when you go to the SVG editor, it's like trying to sell you on AI tools. And so instead, what you'll do is say new artwork. And I don't think you never used to have to do this. But anyway, you can play with this. We can open a file. But maybe they're going to make me subscribe for everything. These are past ones. So yeah, you can still use it without. This is a vector, not a raster image. But yeah, maybe you can't use it anymore. Bummer. So anyway, something we used to be able to use. So I'll add this. This freeware is always changing. But luckily we do have Illustrator. So what's the next step? I've posted that requirement. The next step is to open it in a new program. So I right click and I say open with not Photoshop, but Adobe Illustrator 2025. And next class will be, the goal is you'll have your refined sketch. You'll know what your intention is for your black shapes. We'll spend the whole class working in Illustrator. So right now, this is a raster program or a raster file. You can tell, you can see this, the pixels very, very clearly. So within a vector program, this is an oddity. So what you're going to do is use what looks like the move tool, but this is in Illustrator called the large selection tool. Illustrator looks so similar to Photoshop because Adobe owns both of them now, and it tries to give it a similar architecture. But Illustrator was first developed by a different company, and then Adobe bought it in the 90s. So the tools are a little different because people have been using Illustrator for a long time. If you look at layers off to the side, this is the default arrangement. This is what we want. Off to the side, you'll see layers. I'm going to close transparency here for the time being. Close gradient. So when you see layers, there we go. You have to click the drop-down arrow next to it, and it will show you what's in that layer. So the layers in Illustrator are all organizational. They're more like folder groups. But I want you to do that, and then I want you to double-click on your image. And when you do it, on the layer, you're going to see these options. When you double-click on your image, you're going to see other options, which is just about naming it. So what we're going to do is we're going to double-click on the layer, and we're going to dim the image. So I'm going to name it my refined sketch, because this will not show up in our final vector. Let's just give us our plan. And then I'm going to dim that image to 50%. In fact, I might even dim it a little bit more. So I'll double click it again and I'll dim it to only 30%. Now I'm going to click next to the eyeball. Organizing and locking layers is so important in vector programs that they don't have a padlock at the top. They have a little dedicated box next to the eyeball for locking. So you're going to lock your refined sketch. That's so we don't accidentally mess with it. Now, how do we create anything? We need to build a new layer on top, a new organizational layer on top. We do that just like we build a new layer in Photoshop. You go to the bottom of the layer window and you click on the thing that looks like a post-it with a plus sign in it. That will give you a new layer. Now, if you double click on that layer, we're going to call this black shapes or black shape vectors. And we're not going to dim it because there's nothing to dim. We haven't created anything. It's an empty layer right now. But notice its color. We want it to be red. It's really visible. What that color means is not the color it's going to fill the shapes. That means the color it's going to show our anchor